Hey Jordan, I just wanted to ask you, kind of, taking this new leadership role, what's kind of the main message that you want to give to the current guys on the team and just kind of the young guys in the future that'll come into Indiana?
Yeah, coming in, obviously being born in Bloomington, watching Indiana basketball my whole life and playing here. My thing is just trying to relate to these guys and get to know them, first of all, what makes them tick, how I can help them in any way, shape, or form. And for me, it's kind of just instilling like when this place gets going, it gets going. There's no other place that you'd rather be playing basketball. And just trying to instill that the hard work and things that it takes to play and be a really good basketball team. And, I did that here with, my first 2 years, not so great, but I learned a lot from those two difficult years that eventually led us to two Sweet 16s. So just taking from my experiences from playing here, but also my 9-year pro career and just trying to relate that best way I can to these kids.
Kevin Brockway.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan, I guess first of all, welcome back. And secondly, I don't know how much on-court work you're going to be able to do, or is it just strictly a recruiting coordinator's go? But a guy like Anthony Leo, who has a similar profile to you, 13 years later, Bloomington South kid, 3-pointer. I wonder how much you could possibly take him under your wing a little bit here in the offseason.
Yeah, obviously shooting is an area that we like to keep working on and improving. Everybody every summer is going to try and do that. For me, like I said, it's to be a mentor, to try and relate to these guys and help them any way I can. And a guy like Anthony, who I've known for a long, long time, being a former Bloomington South product, for me, it's really cool to see him and see how hard he's working and doing what I'm able to do as far as, giving him the confidence to go out there and shoot the basketball when he's open and doing those things, not just with Anthony, just with everybody. So trying to get their shot prep and those kind of things in line whenever they ask me questions and stuff like that. So just like I said, from my personal experiences and what I can relate to them being the shooter that I was, hopefully those are things that'll be able to carry over to the court when they're at practice.
Alex.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for taking the time doing this. It's hard
Yeah.
to believe it's been 13, 14 years since you went through the recruiting process and we were writing stories about you. But I'm curious, just in your new role, what do you think the biggest things that have changed in terms of recruiting since you went through the process? And what are maybe the biggest challenges moving forward in recruiting that not just you, but in general, that guys that are doing this for a living are going to have to overcome in the years ahead?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I was getting recruited, there's a lot of rules that have changed, a lot of different things that you can or cannot do. But for me, my recruiting process was fairly short. Once I got the offer from Indiana, I maybe waited 2 more weeks and then I decided to commit. So that process for me, I have maybe a little bit different version than most. But with that being said, I did have a lot of friends and guys that did go through the whole process. And, being back here and being in this realm just for a short time, you can already see the things that need to be done as far as, staying in contact with those that you can and just trying to research and learn everything about the prospect that you can or whoever, just so you can build that relationship. For me, whether it's business or recruiting or whatever, relationships are everything. And that's how I'm treating that here as well. So I know that's very important for me. And I know that was important when I was going through the process as well, because, you're going to be playing and devoting your life to, the school academically, but also on the court. So you want to make sure that it's the right fit for you. And I'm doing the best that I can with that.
Mike Schumann.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan, good to see you again. I wanted to go back to your recruitment as well. As I recall it, the first couple of years of high school, you didn't have a lot of schools paying attention to you, and then it all of a sudden kind of blew up. Just kind of tying that back to your current role, have you thought about what that's going to be like to, be kind of maybe the first guy that gives a kid a call from a high major school, or the first guy that gives an in-state kid a call from IU, kind of what that's going to be like for you after your own experience now kind of sitting in that seat?
Yeah, for sure. I'll probably have a little special place in my heart for that kind of thing, because I was sending out tapes to anybody who would even take a look at it. when I wasn't getting heavily recruited. Fortunately, I played with a lot of good guys on my AAU team and got noticed after a big tournament in Pittsburgh, and then things kind of took off from there. But yeah, it's something that for me, it's realizing after being in the pros for 9 years, like what high school basketball looks like in today's game, because these guys seem a whole lot more athletic than I ever remember playing against, and those kind of things. So it's me adjusting to that, but also applying those pro philosophies that I've learned, and really trying to pick out certain things or characteristics that guys have. So that's the fun part for me, is really diving in and seeing a player that I think can have the intangibles to help us succeed, or whatever, comes with that. So that's a very exciting thing for me to try and just watch good basketball, watch good players, and trying to get those guys.
Tyler.
Hey, Jordan, Tyler Tashman with Inside the Hall. I hope you're doing well. I guess, how did this opportunity kind of come up for you? Obviously, you were playing overseas. Was it Mike Woodson that called you first? How did those kind of talks and the job offer come about?
Yeah, the opportunity came up, and I was still playing at the time, but it was, I was asked if it'd be something that I'd be interested in pursuing. And after talking it over with my wife and family, and just trying to see, like, is this something that I'd be willing to give up playing for? Because I fully planned on, playing for another 2 or 3 years. I was still playing at a high level, in a good league, good competition, one of the highest in Europe. So for me, it was something, if I was going to give it up, it would have to be for a situation to come back home. That's really the only way that I'd ever do that. And after going through the process and doing my research and talking to the coaches and other people, to figure out if this was really something I want to get into, for me, it was something that I just couldn't pass up. So an opportunity to learn from some really, really good coaches, guys who have been at the NBA level, college level for a long time. And I'm just trying to be the best, at my position that I can be, help these guys the best that I can. And, for me and my family to come back home, back to Bloomington, my kids get to see their grandparents more. They get to see my kids and the cousins, and, that kind of came full circle for us. And, we're not getting any younger. My kids are getting older. So that stuff played a big part in that as well.
Jack Ankeny.
Hey, Jordan. I'm just curious, with your experience playing overseas the last nine or so years and the relationships you've built over there, will that open the door at all for any kind of international recruiting for Indiana?
Great question. I mean, yeah, it's always a possibility. You see it happening more and more. I've played in four different countries, but made connections all over Europe. So that's another thing that is definitely a possibility if things fall into place in that regard. And there's talent all over the world. And if we want to try and get the best players possible, that's going to help us win. And if it so happens to be from Europe and it's through a connection that I was able to make over my 9-year career, that'd be pretty cool.
Dustin.
Hey, Jordan, good to see you, man.
Hey.
I remember talking to your dad not long after you got started playing professional. He just said he told you just to do this as long as you could do it, to play as long as you could play. You obviously explained what made it time to go, but I guess how hard is it to walk away at this point? Obviously, you're still producing, still putting numbers up out there. Is it hitting you yet? Will it once the season starts? I mean, how are you dealing with that emotional piece to it? Walking away from playing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. That was something that I was kind of fearful of, because I've always been a gym rat. I've always been someone who's just been in the gym, working on my game. And then as I got older, I was, started training kids and stuff like that. So I've always been around it, and I've enjoyed teaching the game. So I always knew coaching or getting into this realm was maybe in my future. But like you said, I was playing at a high level, and, it is kind of odd that I'm not gearing up for the next season, or my next, all right, I got to work on my handles today. I got to get my reps up, those kind of things. But I think for me, it's been cool to see how I'll just find another way to fill that void of not actually competing. Maybe there's a men's league that I can go at 5 a.m. or something like that and go get buckets. I don't know. But just being in the gym and being around the game. And like I said, I'm really embracing learning from the coaching staff and the guys in the program, because this is different. You know, it's not playing, it's learning the other side of the game. So that's been really, really cool just in my short time being here on campus, is that, you know, although I'm not playing, I'm still feel like I don't want to say have a purpose, because basketball isn't my purpose. It's way bigger than that. But you know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, I'm still giving something to the game. And I for sure will miss playing. That would have happened whether I retired when I was 40. You know, if I retired when I was 40, I still probably would miss the game. So I'm gonna find a way to do that, whether I come in and shoot on my own. I did hit, you know, 40 plus threes in a row yesterday, so I still got it after 3.5 weeks.
Tom Brew.
Hello, Jordan. Welcome home.
Hey,
Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you just to kind of get a perspective on, when you look back 13 years ago to your last day in an Indiana uniform, could you have ever imagined what those next 9 years would have been like, and then your landing spot here?
no, it's kind of crazy to think about. You know, just sitting here and doing this and being in the office, you know, the last however long it's been since I've been in America. There's no way I would have ever envisioned this. You know, like we just said, I would have played until, you know, my legs would no longer let me play, or until, you know, when you have a wife and kids, if she would have been like, hey, you know, I just want to move back home. I can't, we're not going to live over here anymore. Like, then that would have been the only other reason that I would have came back. So it's been an amazing 9-year career. I've learned a lot about myself. Me and my wife had, you know, had to rely on one another. We've had a child over there. We have 3 beautiful children. They got to experience, you know, life abroad and learn a different language and a whole new culture. So there's never in a million years would I've ever have dreamed of doing that and having that basketball journey. But I think there's always a rhyme and reason for what happens. And for us to be back here in Bloomington, if I wasn't going to be playing, this is the only other thing that I'd rather be doing.
Maybe you and Cody can play some serious 2-on-2 games with some people.
Hey, I think we could run a good YMCA league there for sure.
Bob Kravitz.
Yeah, hey Jordan. I know you haven't been back very long, but I'm curious what some of your early impressions are of Mike Woodson and why you think he's the guy to bring you guys back to where you and Oladipo and Zeller had the team all those years ago.
Yeah, it's been you know, when I was going through the process, obviously I did my research and trying to figure out, you know, what the staff was like, how I was going to be coming into a working environment here in the college world. And you know, ever since I stepped foot on campus, not just Coach Woodson, but everybody on staff has been super welcoming. You know, they're helping me get on my feet and try and figure everything out. You know, it's a lot of different things that I haven't necessarily done before aside from the basketball part. So they're doing a great job of integrating me and kind of, you know, weaning me into different things and responsibilities. And like I said, Coach Woodson, you know, he's been doing this for a very long time at a very high level. And for me to learn from someone like that, and the rest of the coaching staff as well, has just been, you know, was a huge thing for me that made me want to come back. And he's, you know, when we're sitting in there and going through different things, and I'm trying to pick his brain or pick the coach's brain on certain things, it's really cool to see different views of the basketball and how you can play. So it's been, you know, really refreshing to see that, you know, emphasis on fundamentals and the style of play. And you know, I think it perfectly tailors to anybody who watches his teams play or has in the past. You know, he's really good at meshing, you know, what he's been able to do and what he envisions for the program and building that culture. And it's something really exciting to be part of.
Thanks, Jordan.
Alec Lastly.
Hey, Jordan. Obviously, you know, a much different role this upcoming season for you than you've ever had in your career. Where do you kind of foresee your biggest strengths being in this position? And you've obviously met a lot of good coaches, a lot of good players along the way in your career. Have you leaned on them for any sort of advice about making this change? And if so, kind of what have they given you up to this point?
Yeah, good question. I think the biggest things that I can bring, you know, just being from the state, being able to connect with different high school coaches that I've met through not just my playing days, just overall, I feel like I've done a good job networking in that way when I ran my own training business and stuff like that. So just bringing that to the state and trying to keep building that, you know, you can always get better at that. And then also just my 9 years of playing, and then having the success over there that I did, and learning different styles and being able to adjust. And then also relating to just players and how they work, being a point guard over there, having a lot of different guys that I had to connect with. And all right, this is how he likes to play. This is what motivates this guy. I think I can really, really be a good, advocate for that, and trying to get these guys going. I think that'll be a big key for me. And also just, just being that guy that can be there for them. Adjusting to college is a little bit different than what kids realize. And, I've been there and done that, and being an Indiana kid playing here, I think I can really relate to them on that level. And as far as reaching out to other people who jumped into this world, or had to retire or whatever, I've talked to a few different people, and just, they're just telling me to really embrace it, dive into the work, trust your decision and all that you do. And, just be excited for the next opportunity. This is a great phase for me and my family, this next stage of life that we're super excited about. And, I'm going to attack it just like I did when I went on the court, do as the best that I can, as hard as I can. And, things tend to work out that way.
I'll look for a couple follow-ups. Alex Bozich, do you have anything?
I do not. Thank you, though.
Mike Schumann.
Yeah, I guess just following up on this past weekend, I saw you up at Carmel. I guess what was that experience like for you both? I saw you taking a ton of notes just on the basketball side, and I'm sure you saw a million people that you knew, just that whole kind of getting back into the Indiana basketball scene.
No, yeah, it was great. To get in there, get out there on the road, and see these kids play in person, it's different than watching them behind a computer. It's a lot better to see it in person. You see how they interact with their teammates, see the little details that they do on and off when they're running off the court, or whatever, what have you. So for me, it was really special to be able to go out there and do that. And like you said, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. So taking notes on whatever I can, whatever I see that I think can help me, not only as be the best that I can in my role, but also, to try and help these kids in the future.
Kevin Brockway, do you have anything? Tyler Tackman.
Jordan, growing up, what were some of your early memories of IU basketball?
Early memories were always coming to Hoosier Stereo. You get your cans and you come and donate, and then you get to watch the Hoosiers at that time it was still at midnight. So it was pretty special to, get to stay up late and watch the first practice of the year. So those are for sure my earliest memories. And also watching, AJ Guyton and that crew play in my grandpa's basement on the big screen TV.
Okay, we'll have two more questions. First, Tom Brew, then Dustin.
Jordan, so when this all came together, when you had that first conversation with your parents that you were coming home, what was that like?
Yeah, they were pretty over the moon about it. My parents, my in-laws, brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody you name it was pretty excited, because 9 years is a long time to be playing overseas. Of course, I came back in the summertime, but it's just different when you're home for 6 to 8 weeks and you're trying to see everybody. It just doesn't work out. So they're happy to be able to see my kids a lot more and just be around. And their cousins can see them more than just for an hour and for a whole year. It's really special for us as a family.
And secondly, how good is your German?
Nicht so good, but my son is fluent, which is pretty crazy. So I can understand quite a bit, but speaking it's completely different just because of the structure and where the verb's placed in the sentence. But my oldest is fluent, and my second son Leo, he can understand but doesn't quite speak it, so I'm gonna have to try and keep up with them so they don't talk bad about me behind my back.
Okay, last question, Dustin.
Jordan, I wanted to go back to what you said earlier about, I guess when you were asked about kids that haven't had a lot of offers. What, and obviously just the level of athleticism you see, but I guess what do you think your experience is going to tell you about recruiting in terms of what someone who maybe isn't the most athletic or isn't the tallest or whatever, doesn't have the most physical gifts can do? How do you think you can, how much do you think that perspective that you can see the value of skill, that you can see the value of, hard work and, kind of basketball IQ? How do you think that value can help you when you're going around and looking at players and saying, hey, this guy might not be able to jump this high, but look what else he can do?
For sure. And like I said, getting to see that in person, that really helps me. You can see how they control the game, or, their fundamentals, or, they're not turning the ball over. They're good teammates. Those kind of things go a long way. Obviously, you can tell from a guy, if you look at a guy like me, who wasn't, the most physically looking person in the world, but you can just tell with some people that they just got it, whether or not they're a super athlete, or if they're this or they're that. So for me, I think it's, paying attention to the details, and those are the things that really helped me personally, was just staying the course, and knowing that I was doing the right things. And obviously, it's a crazy atmosphere. There's so many different kids in the country, so just knowing that you got to go out there and work, and I know that's what worked for me, and I know that's still a good recipe for kids out there today. So I think learning more about the kids, and how they work, for me is is something I'll be looking forward to.